let's rank the 5 main elemental transformation releases in Naruto. Fire, wind, water, earth, and lightning. Now, Kishimoto will try to make you believe that each of those transformations are balanced, and that they will have their strengths and weaknesses, and that they should be treated equally in terms of power and of how useful they can be in battle. There's even a detailed chart detailing which nature transformation is weak against another transformation and vice versa, and also which transformation releases will strengthen each other when used in conjunction, even though there's only one example used of each of those cases in the story itself that is explored by the narratives. It's kinda useless, and we can see Kishimoto has some biases here and there with his nature transformation releases. Because no, the 5 elements are not created equal in Naruto. So let us start off with the most fodder of elements, fire style. And it pains me to say, but fire style sucks, dude. It's just complete dog water in Naruto. But at the same time, it's one of the coolest ones, and I love fire style and fire abilities in general, not only in Naruto. So that's why I'm kinda pissed that fire style is so awful in Naruto. Think about this for a second. There are several ninjas with the ability to spit fireballs and fire style attacks that are massive in size. And I want you to picture yourself in the battlefield facing a real fireball the size of those stupidly large things that Sasuke and Itachi spit. That would feel absolutely terrifying, and I have to imagine that the ninjas in the Naruto world would feel the same way. And I'm not even mentioning Madara's majestic destroyer flame or Jiraiya's fire style in combination with Gamabunta's oil, which are gargantuan in size. I'm just talking about the regular fireballs here. They should be absolutely menacing, because a fireball of that size will burn you to death. The problem with fire style in Naruto is that it just doesn't burn anything and anyone. Whenever a character uses fire style against another, you're just like, oh, it's just fire style, nothing bad is gonna happen, because fire style never does anything in this series. It's almost as useless as throwing a kunai or a shuriken. Let's think about this chronologically for a second here. The first fire style attack we see is Sasuke's fireball against Kakashi in the bell test. Now Kakashi dodges that, so it's okay that he escapes unscathed. However, in the Land of Waves arc, Sasuke uses his fireball against Haku's ice mirrors, and you would think that something very effective against ice is gonna be fire, right? But it just doesn't do anything to them, which I suppose is fine too, because ice is a KK Genkai, the mixture of 2 elemental transformations. It should be more powerful than a single nature transformation, so even though it's goofy that fire does nothing to ice, let's leave that alone. We then get the Chunin exams when Sasuke uses the Phoenix Flame Jutsu with his shurikens, and they do nothing against the Rain Village guy. And then for the first time in the series, Sasuke uses a fire style jutsu that actually does some damage to anyone at all when he lands the Dragon Flame on Orochimaru, and guess what? The damage he dealt was that he kinda peeled off Orochimaru's fake skin and exposed his real face underneath. That's the damage of the fire style attack! I mean, it did look cool as hell when Sasuke did that, but it didn't do anything at all to Orochimaru, which is to be expected, right? Orochimaru's leagues above Sasuke in part 1, so obviously Sasuke was not going to win, but it doesn't help the fire style case here. When Hiruzen uses his fire style against Orochimaru, the first and the second Hokage, he's just countered by water style, go figure. And then when Jiraiya uses the massive fire style in combination with Gamabunta's oil, Manda just uses a change of skin and substitutes out of it. And to be fair, Manda's skin change, well, the skin she left off was very burnt and destroyed by the fire style, but Manda was just fine after it. It didn't amount to anything, just like every single other fire style attack in the history of the Naruto series so far. Now, continuing chronologically, we have Naruto versus Sasuke in the hospital rooftop. When Naruto uses a massive army of shadow clones to attack Sasuke, he launches Sasuke up in the air, and then Sasuke uses a fireball jutsu attacking the army, and he does destroy a decent amount of clones with it. However, he is unable to to do any damage to the real Naruto or the clone charging his Rasengan below. As a matter of fact, the fireball was so worthless that it didn't even scorch Naruto's clothes in there. Like, he was raining fire down on Naruto and it didn't do anything to him, and he's just like, I'm gonna charge my Rasengan now in the middle of this fireball. And that shot looked amazing, I'm not gonna lie, but the fire style jutsu did nothing to it. Now maybe you may argue that the Rasengan was deflecting the fire style, swirling the fire around and making it not hit Naruto, but this makes not much sense at all, I would say. And Naruto's just, well, whatever, man, it's just fire style, it's not gonna do anything, I'm just gonna stand here and pretend nothing's happening while I charge my Rasengan, okay? Then in the Valley of the End, Sasuke versus Naruto, Sasuke also uses fire style against base Naruto, and Naruto just like walks through the fire style and punches Sasuke instead, completely tanking the fire as though it doesn't even bother him whatsoever. And obviously when he acquires the cloak of the Nine Tails, Sasuke uses a fireball jutsu and it literally doesn't do anything to him. I suppose Sasuke used the Phoenix Flower jutsu to distract Naruto before he landed his first Chidori though in this fight, so maybe that's a win for fire style, right? But let's not pretend that Chidori did nothing in the scene. Like, it was literally what quote-unquote defeated Naruto before he pulled the Nine Tails' chakra in the Valley of the End. The fire style was just a little bit of an extra flair, but Sasuke could have done the same thing without it. So in Naruto Part 1 as a whole, fire style's greatest achievement was to destroy a couple of shadow clones. Wow. It doesn't get much better than Shippuden either. Sasori's fire release when he uses his own body puppet is completely worthless against Sakura and Chiyo. He's just like flaming them down with his weird jutsu, spewing fire from his palms, but it's not doing anything at all, just like every single fire style attack. In the Tenchi Bridge arc, Sasuke uses one fire style jutsu to open a crater in the middle of Orochimaru's hideout, and he technically lands the fire style attack on Yamato, but Yamato's like, bro, that fire style attack was really powerful, but I'm not hurt at all. In the Kakuzu arc, his fire style masks are completely worthless. He literally lands a fire style jutsu on Kakashi, Ino, Choji, and Shikamaru, and they don't feel anything at all. And then when he combines his fire style with wind style, which is supposed to be the strong combo, right? Kakashi's able to somewhat combat that with his water wall, but Kakuzu does destroy one of Naruto's shadow clones with his fire style attack, so hooray! Props for fire style, am I right? We then get a couple more fire style jutsus in the Jiraiya versus Pain fight, which I guess it serves as a distraction for the Preta path. Fire style is pretty prevalent in the Sasuke versus Itachi fight, and it's also pretty damn useless. There's a section of the fight when Itachi and Sasuke leave the internal part of the hideout and they're jumping up, and Itachi literally uses the fireball jutsu on Sasuke and rains fire down on him, and Sasuke uses his curse mark wing to block that, and he thinks, oh man, this jutsu is not gonna cause any major wounds, because he wanted to substitute to deceive Itachi and use Kirin, so he needed to suffer grave wounds, and he was like, yeah, fire style is not gonna do that. But I'm not gonna lie, the fireball clash was pretty amazing, especially how it ended with Amaterasu consuming fire itself, and Sasuke was able to burn Itachi's arm with his dragon fire jutsu that he used to set up Kirin. So this is actually a very decent accomplishment. You burned Itachi's arm and you also set up a much more powerful lightning style jutsu. So the greatest accomplishment of fire style so far is to set up a jutsu that's from another element. I don't know, man. Oh, I forgot to mention that Asuma also burns himself with his own fire style jutsu in the fight against Hidan when Hidan deflects it against him when he uses his ritual. So far you can burn yourself with your own fire style, you can burn Itachi's arm, and you can set up Kirin and kill a couple of shadow clones with it. Doesn't sound very good, but you can see how useless fire style is when you get the 5 Kage Summit arc, an arc where Sasuke Uchiha is literally the main character of, and he doesn't use fire style at all. I mean, he used it once against Baku, the summon that Danzo uses to try and pull his Susanoo with air, and then he just spits fire on its mouth. But that's like one time, and Sasuke uses Chidori a dozen times in that arc. He spams it. Sasuke, the guy known for using fire style jutsus, just kind of forgets he has them or chooses not to. The same thing happens in the Deidara fight. Like, Deidara is flying high up in the air, and Sasuke has some very decent ranged options, right, with a fire style jutsus, but he just doesn't use them because, yeah, they're gonna be useless useless regardless. They're not gonna be powerful enough. Well, I guess Fire Style was able to destroy Baku, so there's that, but man, whatever, right? And maybe saying, no, but Amaterasu, that's actually Fire Style. It's said to be the most powerful fire on the planet. No, it's not Fire Style. It's literally Inferno Style. It's a different style entirely. It's a KK Genkai. If Amaterasu / Flame Control or Fire Style attacks, Sasuke would say Fire Style, Flame Control, not Inferno Style Flame Control. It seems pretty obvious to me that Amaterasu is not a Fire Style jutsu. And even when we get to the war arc and Madara arrives using his Fire Style abilities that are gargantuan in size, he doesn't even kill anyone with them. Not even background characters, and Madara loves to kill background characters, dude. He adores that. Now, he does kill a couple of them in the anime with Fire Style, but not in the manga. And the same thing applies up until the end of the series. Fire Style is complete and utter garbage. It does nothing at all. It is really cool to look at, and that's the problem. Fire is the default dangerous attack in the series, so it cannot really do much because it's used all the time. And if people were actually burned severely or even defeated / killed by Fire Style jutsus all the time, then, well, it wouldn't feel very credible. The Fire Style should still feel dangerous. There should have been a couple of fights that were ended with Fire Style attacks. And there's just another big problem with Fire Style. It's that there's no iconic Fire Style specialist. And you may be saying, wait, what? Itachi and Sasuke are Fire Style specialists and they are iconic characters. Why do you mean? Well, obviously they are iconic characters and they do have Fire Style, but they are not Fire Style specialists. What I mean by a Fire Style specialist would be something like Kisame being a Water Style specialist, Onoki being an Earth Style specialist, and the 4th Raikage being a Lightning Style specialist. Their arsenals revolve around a particular element, and they are extremely powerful because of that. There's nobody that solely relies on Fire Style or mostly relies on it. You could argue Sasuke was a Fire Style specialist up until he learned the Chidori, but after that he definitely isn't anymore. And even before that, he didn't use Fire Style all that often. He relied much more on his Taijutsu and the Sharingan, and after he learns Chidori, he only uses Fire Style as a complement for his jutsus and stuff. Fire Style becomes a very unimportant part of his arsenal. The same thing applies to Itachi in a greater degree, actually. Itachi doesn't even use Fire Style in his first appearance in the series. In part 1, there's no Fire Style from him, which means he's definitely not an iconic Fire Style character. Like, think about the 4th Raikage, for example. The first thing he does when he shows up, he's blasting Lightning Style with his armor. Itachi's using Genjutsu and subterfuge and very clever tactics, but no Fire Style against Kurenai, Asuma, and Kakashi. So yeah, Fire Style just sucks, and I wish it didn't because it looks really cool. Number 4 is gonna be Earth Style. Obviously, there aren't as many Earth Style jutsus or even users in the series as there are Fire Style users. And oddly enough, the strongest quote-unquote Earth attacks are not even Earth Style jutsus, Chibaku Tensei and Tengai Shinsei. They are Renegon abilities that are more gravitational than anything else. They just use rocks to attack, but it's not Earth Style, if that makes sense. Earth Style is also barely used in part 1. The 3rd Hokage uses an Earth Wall against Orochimaru, which helps him a little bit. Jiraiya also uses the Dark Swamp, which is a pretty cool technique, and it should be powerful and useful in several situations, especially when dealing with summons. And Jirobo also used Earth Style to attack Choji to not great effect, and also a smaller Earth Wall to protect himself from Choji's attacks. But then we get some much more impressive things from Earth Style Naruto Shippuden. First, with Kakuzu's skin, which is pretty impressive in its raw durability, being able to tank fireballs from the 2 tails and really powerful attacks, but it's also easily bypassed by Lightning Style. We get the Earth Sandwich Jutsu, which is actually the name of the jutsu, and that's the jutsu used to stop the Ghetto Mazo and stop the 10 tails for a brief time. Those 2 half mountains rising and trying to crush the target in the middle. It looks really cool, and it's pretty powerful. Imagine trying to crush an army with that. I think it would have worked, and it also worked against those massive creatures. And we also have Onoki, and he has some very interesting Earth Style variations. Now, first, the Wood Golem is just a powerful avatar that you can use for all purposes. Obviously, it was no match to Madara's Wood Style, but I mean, what is really? But he could use his Earth Style to decrease and increase the weight of things, which could be very useful to hamper somebody's movements, making that person too heavy to move, or making something light, such as Gaara's Sense, so Gaara can manipulate it very easily and fluidly, or even even make a freaking meteor light so that Onoki can literally stop it from crashing against the Alliance with Gaara's help, even though Madara sent the second one and then kind of screwed Onoki over. Onoki can also use the petrification jutsu that he used against Zetsu when he was growing his spores around him in the 5 Kage Summon. He only used that jutsu once, but it seems really powerful. And also the mobile core jutsu is an important Earth-style jutsu that Onoki uses against Madara, and then the Alliance uses against the Ten Tails. It can be used for several different tactics. It's not technically an offensive jutsu, but it can give you an edge during the fight. Still, Earth-style is much more relegated to the, oh, I am the wall jutsu, let's create a wall that's not going to resist an attack very well here. But Earth-style still has way more accomplishments than Fire-style does. Like, there's just not even a comparison here. Number 3, we have Water-style, the mid-element. Now, the main function of Water-style in the series is to counter Fire-style. That's 80% of the appearances of Water-style. And it does that job very well. I mean, Fire-style hardly ever beats Water-style, which I suppose makes a lot of sense. And this already makes Water-style far superior to Fire-style because it's one of the only combinations that is very unfavorable, the other one being Lightning and Earth. But Water-style also has some very interesting jutsus and applications other than just countering Fire-style. For one, it actually puts people in danger in several situations. I mean, Zabuza catches Kakashi in a water prison. Kakashi then uses a Water-style jutsu to defeat Zabuza in their first fight. Obviously, he used Genjutsu on top of that, but the Water-style jutsu dealt the finishing blow. And speaking about that fight, the clash between the two water dragons is just absolutely amazing. I mean, there's just something cool about two jutsus of the exact same nature transformation and even the exact same jutsu itself clashing against each other. But then we also get Kisame using his water-style jutsus against Team Guy in the Kazekage rescue arc. He imprisons them and he puts Guy in a lot of danger with those jutsus. His sharks are pretty powerful, but water-style, if I'm being honest, is probably the element Kishimoto neglects the most. It does feature very heavily in the Land of Waves arc, which is fitting. I mean, Land of Waves, water-style, haha. But it hardly appears in part 1 after that. And in Naruto Shippuden, it's also kind of forgotten. The only time it's very prominent, it's when Kisame is on screen, which is very significant. Let's be real here. Tobirama, who was hailed to be the water-style master, only uses water-style a couple of times against Hiruzen, doesn't do anything at all. And then when he returns in the war arc, he's not even using water-style anymore. He only tries to use water-style to save Naruto from the God Tree, and he doesn't even do that. Hiruzen has to come and actually save him for Tobirama. The only reason why I'm putting water-style here in 3rd place above Earth-style is because of Kisame. This character solo carries water-style in the Naruto series, at least after the Land of Waves. And if I were to pick one single master of a particular element, I would pick Kisame. He is the biggest specialist in a given element. Almost every single jutsu he has is water-style based. The only stuff that he does that is not water-style is when he drains somebody's chakra with Samehada, but he can also use his water to drain chakra as well. His massive shark bomb is said to devour the chakra of things that is thrown against it, and only fails against Hirodori because it's not made out of chakra. It's Guy's vitality and physical prowess manifested and not ninjutsu/chakra. And Kisame literally creates oceans out of nowhere spitting water. And there's also the massive bubble jutsu he uses against B, which is insanely OP. It deletes tail beasts, dude. And yeah, you may argue that Onoki is more powerful than Kisame, but Onoki, sure, he is an Earth-style specialist, but his go-to is particle-style in the end of the day. Kisame is a raw water-style dude, and he is one of the strongest guys in the series up until the war arc at least. There's not even a close comparison to a specialist in any other element. Imagine like a fire-style specialist like Kisame is a water-style specialist. There's nothing like that in the Naruto series. The only thing I could see you argue is maybe the Raikage with his lightning style, but even still, the Raikage's thing is just like imbuing himself with lightning and getting physically stronger. It's not as always like using lightning all the time to attack in different ways and create different combos. No, it's just like taijutsu bang bang lightning style amp. But Kisame, he has variety in his water style, and his solo carries this element to number 3. For number 2, we have wind style. In Naruto Part 1, the only major wind style user that we ever see is Temari, and she is very much a wind style specialist, just like Kisame is a water style specialist. specialist, but she's not nearly as impactful and powerful as Kisame. We also see Baki using wind style to solo Hayate in 0.2 seconds. And all things considered, wind style seemed pretty credible in part 1. Temari was a pretty intimidating opponent and a powerful character, a little bit overshadowed by Gaara's presence, but so was Kankuro, to be honest. And they did have their time to shine, but Temari, she does lots of stuff with her wind style. She solo stomps Tenten, the strongest character in the multiverse, and she beats Shikamaru, albeit, I mean, he gives up, and he kind of beat her before that. But her most impressive feats definitely one-shotting Tayuya with her Kirikiri Mai summoning jutsu, which is honestly a very powerful jutsu. She levels an entire forest with that jutsu. This is not a normal amount of power for Naruto Part 1, especially coming from a genin. Asuma also uses his wind style to imbue his blades and make them cut better and elongate them as well, which is one of the greatest properties of wind style. It makes things sharp. It's very good to cut with it. And we even see that back with Temari in Part 1 when she slashes the air with her wind style attacks. They cut trees with the sheer force of the wind, and those air blades, they just cut things. It's weird, but it's how wind style works. We also have Danzo, another wind style specialist and a man who's never done anything wrong. He manages to press 5 Kage Summit Sasuke a lot with his wind style jutsus and Izanagi, of course. But his main offensive arsenal is wind style. He can use projectiles. He could carve through Sasuke Susanoo with his wind style, using Baku to drain a bit of the muscle layer and then attack it from behind. It didn't work in the end, but still, it was pretty impressive. He could also use wind style to transform his kunai into a wind style longsword, which is pretty cool. And we can see the cutting potential of wind style. It's powerful in the fight against Sasuke. And most importantly, the main character of the series has wind style as his main elemental transformation. Now, Naruto only has one wind style jutsu, which is the Rasen Shuriken. But it just so happens to be the most powerful wind style jutsu and one of the most powerful jutsus in the series. Now, we do get many more variants of the Rasen Shuriken later on, but the wind style one is the classic and a very powerful variant nonetheless. It takes the insane cutting capacity of wind style to its maximum degree, causing thousands upon thousands of cuts against the target, and cuts that go so deep that they can actually cut through your chakra network. So wind style is actually pretty strong. Now, if we were to stop here, I would say that wind, earth, and water are all things considered pretty balanced amongst themselves, and fire style is the fodder one, which is an outlier. The most powerful elemental jutsu would have been wind style Rasen Shuriken here in this list if we didn't have number 1, and it would be kind of okay power-wise. The elements would be balanced, and fire style would just be the one that's maybe Kishimoto could have made that one stronger and more useful, to be honest. But number 1 is just completely overpowered and amazingly versatile, which is going to be Hikaku Uchiha, the Solo King. No, I'm just kidding. It's lightning style, but you already knew that because I talked about the 4 other elements, so lightning style was the only one remaining. So, I mean, it is what it is, but it's pretty obvious, isn't it? Lightning style is by far the most OP elemental transformation, and honestly, I'm kind of fine with that because lightning style is really damn cool. The first time we see lightning style was with Kakashi's Raikiri, which kills Haku, and then Sasuke learns the Chidori, which is the first thing that manages to hurt Gaara in his entire life twice. And honestly, those are the only 2 things that we see about lightning style in the entirety of part 1. It's the least used element in Naruto part 1, which is crazy because Raikiri and Chidori have such a presence that it doesn't seem that way, but it actually is. There's like 2 jutsus that are kind of the same jutsu in Naruto part 1 representing lightning style, and that's it. And we still feel that it's very impactful because those jutsus are extremely cool and impactful in the series. And that's the thing, impact. Out of any elemental transformation jutsus in Naruto part 1, Chidori and Raikiri definitely have the most impact on fights, on the story itself. The Chidori was the thing Sasuke learned for the finals of the Chunin exams, the thing that everybody was anticipating. Oh, what was Sasuke doing during the break there? What was he training for? And the Chidori is just an iconic piece of imagery of the Naruto series. One of the most iconic jutsus that most people quote Sasuke using it, and it's also part of the famous Chidori Rasengan clashes, which is one of the staples of the series. And that's also why Chidori feels so impactful. But then when we move on to Naruto Shippuden, lightning style becomes something else. It's insanely OP. First, Sasuke learns all those Chidori variants. Chidori stream he can lace his body with lightning, shocking everybody around him, and his Chidori stream is able to completely destroy and unravel Yamato's Wood Style in the Tenchi Bridge arc. Wood Style is a KK Genkai, and it's one of the most powerful ones. It's the revered Wood Style of the first Hokage that is completely destroyed by Sasuke's Lightning Style, a simple nature transformation. This is already pretty insane. Sasuke then learns other variants such as Chidori Needles, Chidori Spear, which are good long-range options, which are very good at cutting and piercing. I mean, Sasuke was able to do a lot of stuff with his Chidori Spear, cutting Deidara's bird and an entire tail from the A-tails. And Sasuke can also lace lightning on his sword, which enhances its cutting potential, and it also shocks anybody that gets hit with it. He was able to paralyze Yamato when he hit him with his sword, and he was just able to completely shear through a metal kunai before he hit Yamato. We have characters like the 3rd and 4th Raikage that are specialists in lightning style, and yes, they mostly use lightning style to amp their physical capabilities, but I don't see any other elements granting such a powerful physical boost. I don't see a fire style cloak that makes you really fast, or wind style, or whatever else. There's also Darui's Black Lightning with the Black Panther, and that's an amazing looking jutsu. It doesn't do much in the series if we're being honest, but it still looks really cool. We have Kirin, one of the coolest jutsus in the series, and this one is actually extremely powerful. It destroys the entire hideout, forcing Itachi to use his Susanoo for the first time against Sasuke. It's a shame Sasuke only uses it once in the manga, but it kind of makes that moment special. Still, I would have preferred if he used that more often, and it's just such a clever jutsu. It uses the environment to Sasuke's advantage, and it hits like a truck. The setup mechanics are very interesting and tactically sound for Sasuke to use here. Oh, I'm out of chakra, but I'm gonna set this up to catch Itachi off guard. And just think about this for a second. Is there any other particular elemental transformation that characters are using regularly up until the end of the series? Do you see anybody using wind style, water style, or earth style against Jubidara and Kaguya and stuff like that? No, but I see Sasuke spamming Chidori non-stop, and that's a lightning style jutsu. I mean, Sasuke does use a fireball against Naruto in their final battle one time, but he uses the Chidori way more often. I don't see any other element being as relevant in the end of the series as lightning style is, and one of the most powerful jutsus in the entire series, one of the jutsus that hits the hardest, is a lightning style jutsu, Indra's Arrow. Now yes, it uses the chakra of all tail beasts, combining it into this massive arrow, but the arrow is a lightning style elemental transformation arrow. Just lightning, man, nothing fancy, just like this gargantuan beam of lightning that Sasuke shoots against Naruto enhanced Gurodama Rasen Shuriken nature energy yada 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 versus lightning style, and they tie. Can you imagine a pathetic fire style jutsu doing the same thing? No, because fire style does nothing in the entire series. And then there's also the advantage and disadvantage mechanics that lightning style seems to break off completely. Now, normally lightning style should be strong against earth. This is what is established, and it's fine. It's done in the Kakuzu arc, and we see that for the first time when Kakashi lands a Raikiri on Kakuzu, destroying his stone skin and saying, yeah, this is lightning style, bro. Stone is weak against it. A lot of people argue that it makes no sense for lightning to be strong against earth because, well, in real life, lightning certainly isn't strong against earth. Earth doesn't conduct electricity, and it's not terribly vulnerable to lightning, but Kishimoto came up with that mechanic, which I actually find cool. And there's a cycle, right? Each element's supposed to be strong against one other element and weak against another. However, lightning style kind of breaks that when it's also strong against water style. When we see that Suigetsu doesn't deal very well with lightning at all, lightning makes his water transformation not work very well. It stuns him completely, and he's just absolutely helpless against lightning style. And Suigetsu is a pretty powerful water style user, and the advantage mechanics that lightning style has over earth style is very much used in the series as well. Mainly in the fight against Deidara when Sasuke uses lightning style several times to disarm Deidara's bombs, which would have been impossible without it. Like, in order for you to beat Deidara, you either have to be a lightning style user and know what you're doing against him, or you're probably gonna lose, even if you're technically stronger than he is. Lightning is just overall more powerful than any other element by a long shot, which is mostly because because of the Chidori, because Kishimoto had to keep the Chidori very relevant for the Chidori Rasengan clashes. I mean, he even gives Sasuke's perfect Susanoo Chidori in the final fight that he clashed against a Bijudama from the Naruto Kurama avatar. Can you think about a fire style jutsu clashing against a Bijudama? Yeah, I cannot. So lightning style is a very easy number 1 for this particular list. Subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed the video. Like the video to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. It really does help. Watch this other video right here for more entertaining Naruto content, and thank you so much for watching, guys.